Okay, so in this video we need to do validation. Now there's two types of validation we learn here in Eastern. It's formula validation and normal validation. Formula validation is very easy, right? So let's say you want to know what formulas they use. Now I'm going to tell you what formulas are here, right? To calculate marks index, you don't need to know this. I created my own example. It's grade times the marks. So that's marks index. So this times this times this. Let's say you want to know what numbers were formulated to calculate this number here. So obviously you know it's 4 times 89, but you need to know that so you can do a validation that you are correcting or correctly multiplying two numbers that's supposed to be there. So you go to something called the formula tab. So I'm already on it, but formula tab, and you say trace precedence, and there we go. So basically it means these two numbers, somehow they're linked to create this number over here. So now you know that you're doing things right because those two are the same numbers that should give you that number. So that's a validation. Now dependence is exactly the same, but if we have, let's say, another table and you're using that numbers, then you'll use dependence, right? So when you have another table and you say times this number here, then that's a dependent. So it's the same thing, same concept. You get the concept done. If you want to remove, we press remove arrows. Now, validation. This is the most important part, validation, right? So, to do validation, all you need to go is to data validation, right? So now, we want the blocks to have a specific validation. For example, so this block, okay, we're in the wrong block. Let's say all the grades, let me come out, all the grades. So, one second, I'm going to highlight all this. All these grades. We know grades start from 1 to 12, right? So, we're going to put the data validation 1 to 12. So, let's see, any number, whole number, custom, between, okay, one second, whole number, between, there we go. 1 to 12. This means in that block you're only allowed to put 1 to 12. Input message is when you click on these blocks what it must input. So let's do input. So I was giving it a title. You don't need to see that. Grades. You will see whatever I'm doing right now how it affects this. Error alert. So if person puts something that is 1 to 12 that is greater than that is not in the validation, is going to input this message. So let's say you put a non-grade, because any grade above 12 is a non-grade, right? Okay, so when I click on this, so see, when I click on this, your input told you to put grades, you wrote that. But let's say if I want to put, see, 4 is fine, but let's say if I want to put 13, there's no such thing as grade 13. So let's see. Now if I come out, you see it creates an error. So this was my error message. You put a non-grade. So if I retry now, let's see if I put 20. Wrong grade. If I put 10. Works perfect. So a validation helps prevent errors when you're putting these messages, right? Now data validation is also a lot of stuff here. For example, a whole number, decimals, dates. So you can only put dates in certain blocks, time certain blocks, text length. For example, if I put the text length to be minimum 1, 2, 3, what this means? It mustn't be more than 3 numbers, right? So if I put, let's say, that number, it doesn't work. So validation will help, right? Also there's different validations, as we could see. There's date validation. We could put a decimal validation. That means it must only be in decimals, right? So if we put like 0, there is, now this error message, I have to change it, but basically you get the point. It must be decimal. So validation helps you to put things right. Now we can cancel the validation. So let's highlight these 3 blocks that were validated. One second. Okay, let's go to validation, clear validation data. those validation circles, and then done, right? So now validation is over here. Yeah, that's it for validation.